Israel has again denounced the International Criminal Court. On Monday, the court's chief prosecutor requested a warrant for the arrest of Israel's Prime Minister and Defence Minister over the war in Gaza. In a statement, spokesperson for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu urged nations of the civilized free world to oppose and condemn the decision. Several of Israel's Western allies, including the US and Germany, have criticised the court's move, saying it equates Israel's actions in Gaza with Hamas's October 7th terrorist attack. Hamas leaders are also wanted by the court. And let's bring in our Brussels correspondent, Rosie Burchard, who's been following this for us. Rosie, how are EU leaders reacting to Israel's appeal to ignore any warrants requested by the ICC?
Well, like with so much of the EU's response to this conflict, really since the early days, the European Union is divided. No different here. We've had different responses from across the EU's 27 member states. So, for example, here in Belgium, where I am, we've had a statement from the country saying that this request for an arrest warrant from the ICC is an important step in investigations into the situation in Palestine. That's according to Belgium's foreign minister, the way she described it. We heard similar statements from Slovenia. Then, when it came to France has its foreign office has released a statement saying that really for months the French government has been warning about the importance of compliance with international law in Gaza, particularly highlighting the importance of humanitarian access. Germany, on the other hand, has said it, in theory, supports the ICC, thinks this is a very important achievement of the international community, but it has criticised what it sees as the idea that the court came forward with an application for, on the one hand, Israeli leaders, but also Hamas leaders. And Germany has said that seems to create an implication or a false implication of equivalence. And then really at the far end of the spectrum, we have the Hungarian Prime Minister, Viktor Orban, who has called the application from the ICC for this arrest warrant shameful. So that is something you can see as, once again, EU countries divided on how to move forward on this conflict. And divided, again, I should say, in this case, from the United States, we've heard a different view from Joe Biden, who has called this request for a warrant outrageous.
Well, moving forward, what do you expect to happen next?
Well, while they might have different opinions here, in theory, EU countries are all bound by the same laws. They are signatories to the Rome Statute, which is what establishes the International Criminal Court. And those laws are that if this application for arrest warrant were to be granted, Benjamin Netanyahu, Israeli Prime Minister, would officially become a fugitive of the ICC. And that would mean EU countries would, in theory, be obliged to arrest him should he come to their territory. We are not in anywhere near that position yet. However, that is the potential road forward. And I asked the European Commission's Foreign Affairs spokesperson about this, and he really seemed to me highlighted just that importance of compliance with official international law obligations. Take a listen to what he said to me.
The European Union respects the independence of the ICC. This is an independent international institution that deals with the investigation of the serious crimes, that tries to deliver on the issue of impunity or prevent that there is impunity when it comes to violations which fall under the remit and the mandate of the ICC. And again, all the countries that subscribe to the Rome Statute of the ICC have the obligation to follow that.
In light of what we just heard, how will this affect the EU's credibility if a warrant is granted?
So it should be noted that we are still at the stage of an application and there is no timeline or deadline. So ICC judges will now decide whether or not to move forward with this warrant. If it is granted and if EU countries decide to shirk their official obligations under international law, you can bet there will be a louder clamouring accusations of the EU exerting double standards, basically having different applications of international law. We know, for example, the EU was quite vocal in welcoming the arrest warrant which was issued for Russian President Vladimir Putin. However, one analyst put it to me this way. He said, look, there's no kind of monopoly from the West on double standards here, and we have certainly seen countries in other parts of the world also really tying themselves in political knots over what to do about an ICC arrest warrant. That was the case, for example, when there was discussion over whether South Africa should welcome Russian President Vladimir Putin to a summit of the BRICS alliance. Instead, in the end, his foreign minister went. And years before that, also in South Africa, there was a debate over whether to arrest Omar al-Bashir, who is a suspected war criminal from Sudan. So this is not something which is unique to EU countries, but certainly something which could be a great source of political controversy moving forward.
DW correspondent Rosie Burchard live from Brussels.